Welcome back, everyone, and welcome to our second episode of Bullet Points. We've got a great show for you tonight. The Biden administration, I almost said Obama, basically the same thing. The Biden administration and gun grabbers everywhere are getting desperate. We're going to talk to you about that in great detail and a lot of different stuff there. Proof that hardening soft targets is the answer and the way forward to stop mass shootings. We've got a great example out of Memphis.
Matt, guess what?
What? What?
I met Steve.
Oh, that's right. Aaron finally met Steve in person. We got to meet up for a great shooting day, range day, and training session with our very own expert here, Aaron. All that right after our intro. Expert. All right, we're going to get into those topics in just a minute. But first, Aaron, how are you doing? Happy Friday, man.
Thank you. I'm doing well. Just been keeping busy with Babe Oracle and trying to keep the house clean, new responsibilities. Everything takes a lot longer, but it's going. How about you?
You know, it's been a couple rough days. As some may know, if you watch us over on Twitch, we're on Twitch here. You should go check us out. We just shoot the shit over there and play games and have a good old time. But I've actually been fighting something. Not sure what it was, but it was like flu-like symptoms. I don't think it was the thing, but it could have been. But it was just kind of a rough couple days. I got back into the gym the other day, and I'm feeling good. And actually, on that, what are you having to drink, Aaron?
I bought a new bottle from Costco, which if you watched us on Twitch this last weekend, you would know that I purchased this bottle. It's a 6-year aged Scotch whiskey, blended Canadian, and it was like $18 for a handle, but it is fantastically smooth, and I've been enjoying it. I would ask you the same question, but I remember correctly, you've gone kind of down a little bit of a different path here.
So I am drinking water out of what somebody on Reddit thought was a mortar shell. This is a water bottle. I am having water, and I am having some Coke Zero. At the end of July, I decided I was giving up alcohol for August. And this isn't some sort of like, I got to get my month-long chip, or this isn't some AA thing. I've just been really focusing more and more on weight loss and fitness. And I've kind of really just hit a plateau for several months of losing any kind of weight. So I finally just said, you know what? The one thing I haven't changed in my diet or anything is how much I drink. So you know what? I'm going to go cold turkey for a month and see if there's any benefits. I've made the joke many times. The most noticeable thing I've had is I've got a clearer mind, and I'm pretty much just living in a little more anger anymore. Between just the last few weeks and switching over to kind of like a protein shake liquid diet for most of my meals, and then just dropping alcohol and upping my fitness, I have lost just about 12 pounds. When I got sick, I lost 5 pounds in 2 days. I've put most of that back on now, which I'm fine with. There's been a few times where I've been like, oh, I really want to drink, but I'm just we'll see it through till the end of August, and September I'm really looking forward to having a little bit of Blanton's as a celebration. So something I wanted to introduce to the Bullet Points show, and Aaron, you've only seen this in kind of the notes I sent over to you before the show, but we're going to start doing kind of a featured question of the month, or featured question for the show. The question is, from an ideological perfect world perspective, if you could actually make every gun in the world go away, if you could make every firearm, military, civilian, law enforcement, everything, hunting, every firearm, BB gun, airsoft, you name it, if you could make every gun or imitation gun out there cease to be, would you?
It's a great question. And to be honest, I don't know if I know the answer that I believe in yet. Um, because I see the benefits of it. Because if explosives, guns, firearms, whatever we want to lump them all into, if none of them existed, it would overall curb the amount of maybe it wouldn't. I don't know. Because I feel like
This is
then we're
this
going down
is
the rabbit hole of, where people are saying, there's so much less gun violence in, I don't know, like the UK, and that may very well be the case, but it hasn't curbed the amount of violent crime. Think about the number of things you have in your household that could be used as a weapon, and that has the propensity to be used violently in the commission of a crime. I don't know. I'm very torn on this. This is a question that goes deeper than just yes or no, you know?
I don't know if it does. You can't just give a yes or no. Without reasoning, I
Right.
guess. And I feel like the reasoning there was implied that we had to get some sort of reasoning, but yeah. And that is honestly, I think this question is kind of at the heart of the gun control, gun rights debate. This is very unfair because it puts the other person on the spot. Whereas me, I've had plenty of time to think this through. Do you want my answer or do you want me just to
Yeah,
keep my mouth shut?
absolutely. No. No, go for it.
I would not. I would not make guns or modern weaponry cease to be, especially in the case of small firearms. Let's take Mrs. Llama, my wife. She could be overpowered very easily by an aggressor. I mean, she's active, but she's not a powerful person. I'm not necessarily the most powerful person. Aaron, you could take me out hands down unless I like threw my body at you. That's ooh. Let's put her in a home invasion situation where I am not home. Let's say there are multiple people that have broken into our house, and let's say they are armed with knives or blunt instruments, like bats or something. She has access to a gun. If she only has access to a bat or something she can throw or something like that, she's going to die. Or I don't even want to say worse, but other bad things are going to happen. She is going to be the victim.
Right.
With a gun is the great equalizer. I don't want to say it doesn't take any skill to pull a trigger, and we'll talk about that later on from our range day. But anybody can shoot a gun and train with a gun. I want my wife to be able to protect herself. And while guns and firearms and more modern weaponry does offer a propensity for greater harm in the hands of bad people, that doesn't mean we should be punishing or handicapping the good people. And I think that's what is at right there. That last bit of what I just said is kind of what is at the heart of the gun debate. The only thing that our gun restrictions, our gun laws are doing is hurting good people. That's where I stand with it. And I didn't even mean for this to happen, but this our question has actually worked as the perfect segue into our first topic. The gun grabbers in the US have lost their minds. They are going absolutely desperate, and the stuff that they're putting out, the stuff that we're discovering almost on a daily basis right now. And I know, Aaron, we had something developed since the first time we started talking about doing this episode. It is almost daily something new comes out. A couple of weeks ago, so it's old news now, it was leaked to the New York Times, but it really wasn't leaked because we've kind of known this was coming. It just, we didn't know that it was coming by Q4 of 2023. Biden has instructed the ATF to come up with a new beautiful rule, also known as law that isn't law, that states that you can no longer sell privately your guns, whether they're part of a collection, whether it's something that you owned and then you decide you didn't like, so you decide, you know what, I'm going to sell it to somebody else and get some money back. They have decided that you can no longer sell a gun and make a profit without being a licensed firearms dealer, an FFL. Most guns, in especially in this economy, appreciate in value. I know very few guns that have depreciated since they were purchased, because you know what? Their value goes up with inflation. If you have a collectible gun, let's say you bought a gun back in 1980, back when you could actually still own a fully automatic gun, depending on what it was. Those guns have gone up in value. And even if it stays the same according to the inflation rate, if you bought it for $100 back then and now you sell it for $500, but it's basically the same because of inflation, that's a profit. And that would be a crime. Now, I don't want to go too much into this because it's all speculative at this point. There's a lot of differing information, a lot of contradictory information out there saying it's if you sell 5 or more firearms in a year, if it's just one and you sell it for a profit. But it's like, so you're going to tell us that we can no longer sell privately?
They're calling it a private party loophole, which that term blows my mind.
Loophole.
Because they call it a loophole because God forbid somebody sell their possessions to another person privately. Like, if imagine if we did that with anything else, right? You want to sell your stove that you sell on Facebook Marketplace? You're not allowed to make a profit from it unless you are licensed.
Their logic here is, well, we have a lot of people that are buying guns and then selling them to people that aren't allowed to own guns. If they're not allowed to have guns in the first place, maybe they're a convicted felon, that's already against the law. All they're trying to do is create universal background checks, which are against the Constitution. They're unconstitutional, because to have a universal background check, it's going to build a national registry of firearms.
I was reading through the article that we were basing this portion of the episode on, and it's talking about the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, or the BSCA. And it talks about the fact that the bill changed the definition of a gun seller. The BSCA altered the wording of Section 921 of Title 18 U.S. Code, altered the definition of someone, quote, engaged in the business of selling guns from the original definition, which is with the principal objective of livelihood and profit, to the new statement that they have in the law that says to predominantly earn a profit. So going from being a gun seller, where it used to be where you were both engaged in business and your business of selling firearms was its principal objective was to earn a livelihood and make a profit, to now they've done away with it, and if you sell a firearm, you're a gun seller, and they are criminalizing your ability to sell your private property to another private individual.
Everybody that was against the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, or whatever the hell we want to call that, gun control, everybody that was against it said the same thing to all the Republicans that were supporting it. We all said this is going to come back and bite us in the ass. I am so upset that so many people said, no, this isn't going to do anything. This is going to shut the liberals up. This is going to shut the gun grabbers up. No, it's going to embolden them. It's giving them a little bit of what they want. And if we've learned anything, if you give an inch, the enemy's going to take a mile. And boy, they're actually going for miles. And I didn't think I was going to get this upset on this topic. The person that this is going to hurt the most, Aaron, one, the people that don't know about this stuff, the old people that don't watch the gun news or watch the news or aren't in touch with all the new gun laws because they grew up in a free country. But think of all the widowers out there. Let's say a woman is married to a gun collector, and uh, they hit the ripe old age of their 90s, and he passes away, and there's no one that really wants his gun collection in his family. She decides, you know what, I'm going to sell off these guns. I'm going to start trying to get rid of them a little bit and get some money back. Maybe she has to pay, God forbid, pay medical expenses or pay funeral costs, or maybe she's just going to try and liquidate the assets so there's more to distribute elsewhere. That could make a little 90-year-old lady a felon because she's trying just to get rid of guns. It it angers me. Again, it all goes back to, since when do we not have the right to sell our private property? It doesn't matter. It is mine. It isn't something that the government has generously said I'm allowed to have. It is mine. My own. My precious firearm. Now a word from our sponsors. We don't have any sponsors yet. Anybody watching this, if you guys want to have a little sponsor spot on here, Rex, you know what? Morosaurus Rex, sponsor and friend of the channel. Go check him out, Morosaurus Rex. He does a lot of gaming content. Thanks for your support, man, and we really appreciate your friendship, and we got to do another live stream on Twitch with you soon. Let's move on to our next topic. I'm going to try and let Aaron run the show on this one, but I'll start it out. There was a failed shooting down in Memphis, so another would-be shooting in Tennessee, and it proves that we have to harden soft targets.
So, one of the big talking points lately that I've seen in the news is anti-gun, we'll say gun rights opponents have posited that schools shouldn't have to increase their security because people commit crimes with guns. And I think it's quite the opposite. I think that as a result of people making poor decisions, using weapons of any kind, I will tell you that personally, when I was in middle school, we had a dude enter our school with a barbecue fork. It doesn't have to be a gun. We went on lockdown, right? It is what it is. It's a weapon if it's intended to be used as a weapon. Security at schools, which could blanket statement be categorized as soft targets, need to up their security. This is a great example of why hardening soft targets works. And I don't have a ton of information on exactly what they did.
Well, and it wasn't
but I
made and it
know,
wasn't made public. This is not a well-known story.
right. 33-year-old male attempted to get into this Hebrew academy in Memphis, and he was unable to. And I don't want to put myself into his state of mind, but one could assume that out of frustration, he fired shots outside of the school because he couldn't get in. He was armed with a handgun. Figures. Everybody's trying to ban what they're calling assault rifles because they are most commonly used in all these school shootings. But he comes in with a handgun, which is more common than not. That is what they use. And he opens fire outside the school and then drives away. He was later contacted by law enforcement after he fled the scene, and they stopped. They attempted a traffic stop on him, at which point I believe he got out with a gun in his hand and he was shot at by the officers. I don't have any updates on that shooter's condition, nor do I really care. Just goes to show that you increase the security and you make it harder for people to enter these facilities with weapons. The likelihood of that school or that soft target experiencing such a tragic just atrocity is going to decrease exponentially because you've buffed up the security measures that should exist.
Aaron, I have a question for you. This is tongue in cheek. Isn't it illegal for a person to carry a weapon onto school property?
Absolutely. I'm glad you asked.
It didn't stop him from doing that?
No, and I see so many memes on Facebook about this, and I saw a really good one. The attempts to ban firearms and make them illegal for people to possess and or own whatever, right? And essentially the response was, yeah, because that's what we did with drugs, and that worked really well. You want to ban firearms. You want to say that it's illegal for somebody to own or possess a firearm. It's still going to happen because drugs are illegal. And it worked really well for us to say, well, you can't have them. And then, they just disappeared. Nobody had them anymore. Wrong. It is illegal to do all these things. And we've said that it's illegal to do them, but they still happen. The reason, and we may have touched on this the last episode, the reason that we have laws is not because we don't think that people aren't going to commit these offenses. It's to punish those, it's to deter the law abiding citizen from committing that crime. And it's to punish those who we know are going to commit that crime anyway.
So you have to think, kind of going back to our previous topic, only briefly, anytime they pass a new gun law that is going to affect millions of would-be law-abiding citizens, they're literally doing it knowing that they're going to be punishing good people. Any person with half a brain will understand this concept. The only people that don't seem to be willing to accept it are the politicians, and largely the politicians on the left. So back on this and hardening soft targets, this was a great example, and I'm glad that it went down the way it did. We do not need another tragedy like what happened in Uvalde or in Nashville. And in this case, it wasn't even having a gun on premises. It was just having proper locks on the doors, having I don't know exactly what it was, but the guy just couldn't get in. We need not just to harden soft targets, but part of that hardening is training. So, this really wasn't a good segue, but we're going with it. It's all I've got. Aaron, Steve, and I, a couple weeks ago, finally got together. Steve and Aaron finally met in person. They've only ever chatted through Discord while we're playing games, and it was a really good range day, and we all kind of learned a lot. We've got a video coming. Do you have any highlights you wanted to talk about there?
I learned a little bit about myself in terms of the getting into of one's own head when they are shooting. That was something that you and I think, talked about at length. I like to think I'm a pretty good shot with a handgun.
Aaron is a ridiculously good shot.
And we were having a friendly competition at 25 yards, which with a handgun is a decent range. And we're also using small targets, which we should have been using larger targets so that I could see what I was doing. But I didn't do very well. And Matt will tell you, and I will be the first person to admit, I was pissed. I was not having a good time. It was not fun because I expected more out of myself at 25 yards. I still don't know what I was doing wrong, and that's something that I intend to figure out, and that's going to take some additional training. But that is why training is important, because I found a shortfall that I didn't necessarily know that I had, and I intend to remediate it because I am not happy with the results, and I expect more out of myself and my performance if I'm going to be carrying a firearm. That being said, I think that it's fair to say that I probably have more experience with handguns than Steve does. And so him and I got to spend some time together, and I got to give him a few pointers that, based off of what you've told me, have increased his accuracy and his consistency markedly. So I was happy to see that.
Steve, I am not throwing you under the bus here. And I honestly want to get Steve in on one of these or do a video where we're all together in person.
Yeah.
I know we're working on getting all of us together out at Llama Ranch because we, things need to happen. Things need to happen. And that's all we're going to say there. I was with Steve the first time he ever shot a gun. Shot his 43X. From the first time he shot to now, he is very deadly. I'm not going to say there's no room for improvement. There's always room for improvement. And you know what? If you can be Elijah Dickin, the hero that stopped the mall shooting out in Indiana, and if you can hit 8 out of 10 shots at 40 yards on a person that's bladed, so turned sideways for those that don't know what bladed means, if you're already to that level, push it out to 60 yards, push it out to 70. One of the things that I think you can do, and I'm talking to you, the audience, and Aaron, we've talked about this. One of the things to do about nerves, competition, friendly competition, whether you're doing a 2-gun, a 3-gun, you kicked my butt in that 2-gun thing that you set up out at Llama Ranch that one day. When you challenge yourself, when there's more of a competitive nature behind something, it triggers something in the human psyche and it gets your adrenaline going more than if you're just at the range and you're just trying to shoot. You want to win. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to win, but don't beat yourself up when you lose. You know what? We have recorded for quite a while tonight.
I do want to say one small thing fitness-wise, if you don't mind.
Oh, go for it.
I have struggled the last few days a lot to get the motivation to go to the gym. And I love going to the gym, but the last few days, and I've been battling an ear infection, not an excuse, but for those of you who might also be struggling with the motivation to go to the gym, there are no excuses. You can do it. It's only, an hour out of your life. I promise you will feel good. Just take the time. This is your buddy check-in to go to the gym and work 110%, get in, get out. It's really not that big of a commitment. I struggled with it, but I made it the last 2 days, and I'm glad I did. So get there. You won't regret it.
One final thing, really want to thank everybody for subscribing to the channel, liking our videos, and the comments we've gotten on all of our content. We've been seeing an increase in subscribers again. Remember, we've got that 1,600 subscriber goal for the end of the year. I'd love to see us hit 2,000, but 1,600 is very much within our grasp. We've been seeing some really good metrics and analytics on the channel, and thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you so much for the support.
Thanks.
And we will see you next month for our 3rd episode of Bullet Points. That's going to do it for this video, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the like button and consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so already. Don't forget to hit the bell icon to get notifications on all of our future content. And as always,
don't take life too seriously
and make it a great day.